Hey guys, welcome to a brand new segment here at Rob's Home Bar. This is Booze Breakdown, where we taste, compare, and analyze different drinks. For the first episode, we're going to be making 4 whiskey sours, but we're going to be swapping out the whiskeys. Okay, so our first whiskey is going to be a rye whiskey. I'm using Dillon's Canadian Rye. Ryes are typically made from at least 51% rye, and they tend to have a spicier pepper note. After that, we have bourbon. Bourbon is American whiskey made from at least 51% corn. They tend to be a little sweeter since corn has more sugar than other grains. I chose Buffalo Trace. After that, Scotch. We're doing an Islay Scotch, which is made from malted barley, and it's dried using peat smoke, which is why it gets its campfire smokiness. I'm using Ardbeg 10. Lastly, we have Irish whiskey. This is Tullamore Dew, which is a blended Irish whiskey. Irish whiskeys are similar to Scotch, but they tend to be milder since they don't really dry using peat. And there you have it. There's our 4 whiskeys that we are going to try today in a whiskey sour. We're going to be using a pretty standard recipe, so we really want the whiskey to shine through. Okay, so let's get 4 mixing glasses at the ready for our sours. We're starting off with our lemon juice. We're going to do an ounce of lemon juice per glass. So this is my ratio of for a sour. I mean, it's whiskey, it's lemon, it's sugar, so you can change up the ratios to your liking, but this is how I like my sours. After that, we're going to do 3/4 ounce of simple syrup per glass. Here's what I mean. Some people do a full ounce of simple syrup. At 3/4, that's the way I like mine. Okay, after that, we're going to get pouring our whiskeys. We're going to start with our rye. As I mentioned, this is Dillon's Rye, a wonderful local Ontario rye. It's a really good whiskey. All of these are great whiskeys. Rye is kind of my go-to for a whiskey sour, so it'll be fun to compare, but usually when I make a sour, I use rye. For our bourbon, as I mentioned, we're using Buffalo Trace. It's my favorite bourbon, especially for cocktails, also for sipping. Look at the color. It's much darker. All right. After that, our Islay. So this is probably going to be the most intense one. Islay Scotches are very smoky, very peaty. If you're a novice to whiskey, this is not the one to start with. So we're doing 2 ounces of all our whiskeys. And lastly, our Irish whiskey, Tullamore Dew. This is a great one. I mean, Tullamore Dew and Jameson are kind of my go-to Irish whiskeys. I love this stuff in an Irish coffee. This is a really good Irish whiskey. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. Hit that button, hit that bell, get notified when we release new content. Okay, our last ingredient is, of course, an egg white. So I'm going to crack a fresh egg. We want pretty much the whole white in there, but don't get any yolk, don't get any shell, obviously. Just the white. You could use aquafaba if you wanted. You could use a foaming agent, but I like the egg. All right, so I'm going to fast forward here while I crack the other eggs in there. Now, since I don't want to waste all those yolks, I figured I'd give a nod to David at Booze on the Rocks. Cheers, buddy. There's my egg shot, and chase that with some 151 Gosling's rum. Oh, that was a rough one. Let's go for a second. You know, actually the rough part was not the 151. It was the egg that was fucking nasty. Okay, let's fill our mixing glasses with ice. Now, normally when you're doing a sour drink or any drink with egg white, you're going to do a double shake, so dry shake and a wet shake. Because I'm making 4 of these, I'm just going to do 1 shake, but I'm just going to do a hard-ass shake. Let's do a double flippy move. And let's slap those on nice and tight. Make sure it's nice and sealed, because we're going to double fist this one here for the shake. Booyah! All right, that was actually a little harder than it looked, so I'm just going to do 1 at a time. Like I said, I'm not doing a double shake. I'm just doing 1 time, so I want a really hard shake to make sure I emulsify that egg and I get as much foam as possible. We're serving this in rocks glasses with some nice big chunks of clear ice. Honestly, clear ice is kind of a waste here because it's opaque anyways, but I had the nice and I'm trying to flaunt it. All right, double strain because we did do a hard shake with ice, so if there's any ice chips in there, I don't want it. Okay, so even though we didn't double shake, we got a pretty good foam forming. Look at that. That's a pretty good foam. All right, let's get our last two. The hardest part of this experiment was making sure I didn't mix up the whiskeys and forget which was which. All right, kind of shook these ones off camera. Like I said, this was a long shake. Got about 2 minutes of shaking for each one. Okay, so our last drinks. Let's double strain them into their respective glasses. Don't mix them up. Okay, so if you've never had a whiskey sour, it's a beautiful drink. Regardless of what whiskey you use, whiskey sours are amazing. It's sweet, it's sour, it's tart, and that warm whiskey. It's just a really good way of drinking a whiskey sour. And make sure you use the egg white. The egg white adds such a nice texture. Okay, so we've got our 4 whiskeys: rye, bourbon, Scotch, Islay Scotch, and Irish whiskey. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful drinks. Okay, I think we need to taste these guys, because I'm going to go in order. So we're going to start with our rye, and my God, that's delicious. This is, like I said earlier, this rye is my go-to for whiskey sour. So this really feels right at home. It's wonderful. It's got the nice kind of peppery, spicy note on the finish. I absolutely love a rye sour. Beautiful. All right, moving on to our bourbon. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong at all. A lot of people prefer bourbons in their sours. I find it falls a little flat. It does have a deep, rich flavor, but because it's sweeter, it misses that little pepper note. I've mentioned that in many videos, many of my bourbon videos. I just find it lacks that little bite at the end. Sometimes using a higher proof works better. Now I'm going to skip over the Islay because I know that's going to be the most intense one. I'm going to go over to the Irish whiskey. Okay, very nice. Also, like, all of these are good. all of these are great. Very, very nice. It is much more mild. It's closer to the bourbon one, I'd say. It's a little sweet. It's got that kind of buttery biscuit that I come to know from Irish whiskey. Very nice. Okay, let's finish up with the Islay, the Ardbeg. Wow, that's amazing. Oh my God, that's just fantastic. Yeah, you have to try this. So, it goes down like a regular sour, a regular whiskey sour, and then on the finish, that intense smoke, that intense peat. Let's get another sip. It just hits you on the finish there, and oh, it's so good, so intense. Yeah, this is definitely the winner for me. Oh my God. Guys, if you're not doing Islay, what are you doing? Get into the Scotch. Stuff's amazing. I think I'm definitely going to finish this one first. Okay, so I think we need to rate them, right? Okay, so if I were to rate these, obviously, number 1, Islay Sour, beautiful. I love that smokiness. Number 2 would be the rye, just because it's my go-to. I love that little spicy note that rye has. Number 3, the bourbon. It's got a nice deep richness to it. And lastly, the Irish, which is not a bad thing. Not bad to be last. These are all fantastic drinks. But for me, the Irish one was definitely the last in the lot. Irish whiskey is just very mild. Now, there is one whiskey that we did not bring to the party, and that is Japanese whiskey. So I think Vino made a video about Japanese whiskey. I don't know. I really don't know.
Hey Rob, what's up? It's me, Vino. Yeah, how you doing, pal? I just saw your little whiskey sour comparison video. Yeah, and you have the audacity to drop it in the same day as mine. I don't care if people only watch your videos to see your feet. Alright, well, you know what you don't have? You don't have Japanese whiskey in your video. That's right. So go ahead and check my video out and cry your eyes out. I'll talk to you later, buddy. Sayonara. Maybe I was a little too rough.
But guys, definitely go check out Vino's video. He's doing an awesome comparison with a bunch of different whiskeys as well as a Japanese whiskey. So click that link. It's going to be in the description. Go see Vino's video. I hope you enjoyed this, guys. Like I said, this is a new feature, Booze Breakdown. We've got another one coming out Monday where we're going to look at different margaritas. So stick around, subscribe if you haven't, share, like, leave a comment, all that good stuff, and we will see you next time. Cheers.